It is no longer mermaid, it is Julycanthropy, so we're starting a werewolf. Hello, Ryan. I'm sorry about your spiders, but I'm glad you're handling them as well as you are. I remember when you used to be a really intense arachnophobe, so I'm glad you're handling them well. Wolf spiders are actually the only spiders I really dislike in the house. Like, I will rehome other house spiders. Wolf spiders aren't technically house spiders. I don't really care. And I know how spiders will die if you take them outside. They're not designed to survive outside. They're indoor spiders. So I will just put them on a little piece of toilet paper and take them down the hall if they're too close to me. But wolf spiders, I do not like them. I do not like them at all. They freak me out a little bit too. So I hope you get things sealed up fast, because that sucks. I'm glad you like getting my videos and replying to them, because sometimes I feel like I'm talking too much about me and what's going on with me. You don't always give me a lot to respond to about what's going on with you, so I do my best to ask questions and get you involved a little bit. So, you were talking about going down to St. George, which sounds awful, just because of the heat and the drive, but you mentioned your fibromyalgia and how it will make the drive hard, and I don't actually know that much about fibromyalgia. I've looked it up a little bit since you mentioned that you have it, but I really know very little about it, other than it's a chronic pain thing. It seems like what sets it off is kind of random. It's probably more consistent for like a singular person, like you seem to have consistent things that set off your pain, but I don't know. If you could explain a little bit about that to me, because the internet has been mostly unhelpful to me personally, then that would be cool if you don't mind, of course. I'm not going to say you have to try these things, because I'm sure people give you like, oh, you should try this, you should try this, you should try this all the time. But something that works for mom really well for muscle pain, which I don't think fibromyalgia is Epsom salt. She swears by it. And something that really helps with my pain is peppermint oil. So if you care to give anything a try, then maybe those. So I know you grew up with Nathan and the second oldest. I can't remember the order of Warren's kids, just that Nathan is the oldest. And obviously I've met Nathan. He comes to the family reunions, but he's just so much older than me that we didn't interact much when I was younger. When I got older, he mostly wanted to play Risk, and oh boy, Risk is like Monopoly. Play it with Dax too many times and you will never want to play it again. Honestly, just play them once or twice without Dax and you will never want to play them again. In my opinion, they're not fun games. But Nathan's an interesting guy. I wonder, what kind of stuff did you two used to do when you were little? Because, I mean, I'm sure you did normal little kid stuff, but also you grew up in the country. Did you jump off a lot of haystacks? Dax and I did that a few times at the White Rail. Probably a stupid thing to do, but there you go. My memory of Warren's kids, like the list of them, is a little off. I think Ammon is the second youngest, but anyway, he used to babysit me and Dax, and he told me that Dax used to carry me around everywhere, and just, I loved being carried around, and Dax never wanted to put me down, so he'd just carry me around the house all day, which I think is adorable. Ammon's great. I feel like it's been forever since I've seen Ammon. I also remember playing with Aaron, I think, and from what I understand of his age now, I didn't like have any concept of his age at the time, but I'm pretty sure he was like a full grown adult. So that he would play with like 4-year-old me and just like tussle around with me and put up with my annoying 4-year-old shame is impressive. And I thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I do know the White Rail was called the White Rail, but I remember when I was little I didn't know if it was white or light because we all have mush mouths. Dax and I played there all of the time and we did a lot of stupid stuff because we were kids. One of the things I remember loving was riding around on the round horse walker. Like they had put like a little swing on one side of it, so whenever we walked the horses we could counterbalance them, and it was so fun. And by swing I mean 2x4, not like swing. 2x4 on the end of a rope.
So mock-up is actually a really loose term. It's basically anything you draw in order to build up to the final drawing. So this is my final drawing, and this is, I don't know how well you can see this. This is the mock-up I did for it. It's got her arm out and kind of the flipping off. It's kind of got him where he's supposed to be and the pillars. This is not a very fleshed out mock-up, but it's got all the ideas of what I wanted. I added hill spells later. This is a very not fleshed out mock-up of the final image, and it would drive Josh nuts. My teacher's name is Josh. It would drive him nuts. But this is good enough for me, which is part of the problem. Another kind of mock-up you can do, because that's like a full image mock-up that I did that's not very fleshed out. You also saw me do in some of the videos some mock-ups yourself, actually. These are the body mock-ups, and these are more filled out. This mock-up ended up not being one I wanted. It didn't work because of the way it was planned out. I misunderstood some of the muscle planning and it didn't work. But this mock-up is fairly fleshed out for a mock-up based on the body plan that I wanted. It doesn't have a face and it doesn't have arms because I didn't need them, but it builds out on what I needed to learn for the picture. So that's what that mock-up is. Then this is the character mock-up. I think I did a batter up on this, which is one of the other series that I do. And you can see she's very static because the point of this is not to figure out how her body or her pose is going to be. It's a different kind of mock-up. It's to figure out what her face was going to look like. So it's a character mock-up of the face. And then I've got some, over here, I've got some other mock-ups in line. So one of these are for skin colors for a different video I did. So these are mock-ups to try and see if these colors go together to make a solid skin color that I'm happy with, different shades and tones for the skin. And I've written out which ones go together and which ones don't to make the colors I wanted. So this is a mock-up. This is a color mock-up. And then the final kind of mock-up I've got here is will I fill it up mock-up, which is you're trying things that you want to try on your piece, but you're not sure will work. So you're trying them in the mock-up in order to give it an attempt and not ruin your piece at the same time. This is a mock-up, but it is also a bunny ears because I messed it up. But I also found out what I wanted to do from it. Like this color was not what I wanted, but this one was. I don't like this black, but this is kind of what I wanted this to look like. So I figured stuff out by screwing this up, and I didn't screw up my actual image because I screwed it up on this mock-up. So mock-ups are kind of complicated and kind of simple. They're basically anything that you do in order to make your final image look polished and professional on any other page or digital canvas or whatever.
So my mock-ups on their own digitally tend to look more like this. The colors, to me, they help me understand this arm where it's pink is arm, and then it turns into skeleton there, and then it overlaps. It helps me see where everything overlaps, and it helps me not lose things in the image. The colors confuse the hell out of Josh as much as they make things so much easier for me. So usually when I do mock-ups for class, I do them like this, and then I desaturate them so they're black and white for him, which is kind of hilarious. This was another mock-up I did of the same mer creature-y thing. I did it a while before the other one. It is, as you can tell, more detailed because I go two ways with mock-ups. I like to leave them fairly simple so I can adapt, or I basically just don't do them. I go straight to the underdrawing and then go straight in. Like I don't do a mock-up at all, essentially. I just do the drawing in different colors and then I ink it. It's basically like a sketch instead of a mock-up, which is more what this is. So I feel kind of like a little shame for looking this up and then being like, I'm going to correct you. That's not the point of it, but I wanted to know the fall down 7 times get up 8, kind of where it came from and if it had more context than who said it. It's actually a Japanese proverb and it does not have any more context than that. It doesn't really need it, but it was really nice to hear and be reminded of, because as much as I know that learning from your mistakes is something you can do and is a good thing to do, it is kind of rough when you're making the same or a very similar mistake multiple times and you feel kind of dumb. I was glad to hear and be reminded that the 8th time is also fine. Side note, I zoomed out my screen recording so you could see my whole program because you said you wanted to see the process of doing it digitally, and I realized the process involves using the program, so I zoomed it out so you can see me doing that. Your night owl badge sounds awesome, except for the party part. That sounds less awesome. I used to do long walks around my neighborhood at night. Well, neighborhood. I would go to the next town over and then back. I think I tracked it once and it was about 5 miles. But as a night owl myself, I can see the joy in getting such a badge. But I am also very excited about my editor badge. Yay! I'm so excited. That's awesome. I will admit that on my last video, I accidentally reused a clip, like a 2-minute clip or something, so it was slightly longer than it had to be. But I'm not ashamed of that, because honestly, adding a little bit of time to that just makes it feel more like the time I spent. What kind of party would you throw for your night owl badge, though? I would do just about anything I could to get out of a party if I were doing that badge, but you're a much more sociable human than I, and I think you would maybe enjoy doing a party. I just wonder what kind you'd do. Knitting. I do still knit. I knit on and off, usually a few projects a year, and I don't actually use Angora yarn because it's hard to take care of, even more than normal wool, which is more tasking to take care of than I really care to do. I generally use acrylic yarn, not red heart yarn, more like a medium quality acrylic yarn, but acrylic yarn that can go in the wash. Going back to the drawing for a second, the background is pink because I also have trouble with bright lights. I have very light sensitive eyes, and having white backgrounds on computers is actually kind of difficult for me because they put off white light and blue light. It's also kind of a pragmatic decision later in the process. At this point, it doesn't really matter, but later in the process when I'm coloring, it can be easy to not realize you've missed a spot when white is your undercolor just because your eyes kind of get used to it. But if you have a contrasting color as the color underneath what you're doing, you will notice that you've missed places. Back to other things. At the doggy daycare I work at now, we do actually board cats. I don't think we do daycare for cats, but we do board them. We've got 4 cats boarding right now, plus Flounder, who lives there. Flounder used to board there, and then his parents moved to Hawaii and couldn't take him, and somehow we adopted him, I guess. He was there when I got there. I don't know the entire story. I just know that his parents couldn't take him to Hawaii with them. So now he lives with us. Flounder is actually very sweet. Like, the story about him biting me makes it seem like he might be an asshole, but he's really not. He just wants lots of attention and love, and he is just the most purry, cuddly little guy. I adore him, though I do not let him anywhere near my fingers anymore. He likes to sit on my lap while I read during my lunch break and rub his face against my hand so that I cannot hold my book steady. It's kind of adorable and kind of annoying. I do wish Flounder had a good home, though. He's very affectionate, and he's the sort of kitty that needs lots of love and attention, and we just don't really have the time to give him all the love and attention I think he needs and deserves. But we do our best. So I have somewhere a picture of me and Dax on that camping trip, and I'm sure it's downstairs in the giant box of pictures. But I have my own little stash of pictures in a drawer. They're not as old as the ones that would have me and Dax in it for the most part, but I thought maybe I might have pulled it. But I found some gems. One, I have Erin's wedding invitation photo, which is kind of wild to me. And then Grandma put together like a scrapbook picture album for me when I was little because I loved the book she had some pictures in, like the book itself. I thought it was beautiful, and so she gave it to me with pictures of me and the family in it. And there's one of Erin and me in 96 and one of Nathan holding me and Chrissy in 97. And in both of them, I am asleep on them and I have a terrible bowl cut and they're filthy and hilarious. I can sleep anywhere to this day, sitting, even standing, and apparently that was true when I was a child as well. There's actually a photo of Janice at her wedding too with her bridesmaids. I recognize Ranella and Mom. Mom was so tiny, but the other two were probably Janice's friends, or maybe sisters. I realize I don't know much about Aunt Janice's family now that I think about it. I also have just a bunch of me and Chrissy and Lisa like on vacation together, and then just a random one of sheep. Just sheep. I don't know why. The rest are all of like family and friends, and then just one of sheep. So one final bit about the image. The toddler is really happy to see their grandparent, but the older one is a little nervous. And I based that on the time when Dax kind of reintroduced us. You probably remember this. And I called you Uncle because I was afraid of ants. Anyway, love you. Hear from me soon.